Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Check Me. This is Seth. Wanted to talk about this Chargers game where the Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Chargers 31-30 with one of the, I guess, the best comebacks in, they say in wild card or playoff history. A lot to unravel here. We talked about storylines. What are the biggest storylines? I think the biggest storyline from this is Doug Peterson. Um, Doug Peterson, has been phenomenal since he's came back and came back and just coached this team. First year back, taking a team that everyone thought was going to be marginally abysmal this year, to get them in a situation where they're in playoff position, but actually winning the division, getting in the playoffs, and then winning a wild card game says a lot to your coach Doug Pearson, as opposed to just the team itself. What he did with Philadelphia and what was amazing. And I think that a lot of us, we take a lot of it for granted when we, say, okay, hey, Doug Pearson, what did he do in Philadelphia and how he went out? I'm not sure what that situation was. I'm not sure what the situation was in Philadelphia and why he, what happened with Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz, that situation. I'm not sure. I'm not. I don't think we'll ever figure out until maybe do a 30 for 30 on that situation or whatever. Philadelphia has a statue of that man outside the stadium. So bringing the first is it Nick Foles or Doug? I think yeah, Nick Foles and Doug Pearson bring the Eagles the Eagles the first Super Bowl to the franchise, but it says a lot to him about him and his coaching, rallying behind the players, rallying behind him, having faith in him. When they went that huge losing streak through the regular season, one of the players on the team said that they were focusing on winning the division, and that's what Doug Pearson said the focus is on. And him being just understanding where players fit. And if you look at that Philadelphia Eagles team when we won the Super Bowl, everyone was pretty basic. We didn't have exceptional players. And I said that across the board. There was no exceptional defensive players. There was no exceptional offensive players. Now, we had a solid offensive line that knew how to run and knew how to operate in his system. But Nick Foles, average. Alshon Jeffrey, average. Aguilar, average. We look those were our receivers. Then we had Zach Ertz, who was relatively, I'd say it, his upper. He was a good tight end, but he wasn't he was one of the better tight ends in the league. I will say that. But same thing on defense. You had some good players, but you didn't have a cluster of dominant players that people would say, hey, look, those are game changers on your roster. Maybe Fletcher Cox at the time, but you didn't have that. And what Doug Pearson he takes these teams where they're gritty, they're tough, they play good football, they execute, and he goes far with them. Just like this Jaguars team. This Jaguar team, I will say that their defensive secondary is second to none. I think that the defensive secondary as a unit plays exceptionally well. They play smart. I think the reason why they came back in this game, the reason they came back in this game is because of their defense. As a defense, how do you stop a team that has 5 turnovers and then a couple of them in your territory, and you only give up, you give up 30 points. But you have short fields that they were playing against. They gave up some field goals. But in that second half, that defense was lights out. It wasn't the offense that got them in the game. It was the defense that they only scored 3 points in the second half. So they got outscored. They got outscored in the second half 24-3. So, or whatever, 24-3, 23-3. That defense was lights out. You had guys running around, but I think that speaks to the mentality that Doug Pearson brings. Speaking of average players, look at Travis Etienne. This guy right here, I think he was phenomenal. And I think if you go the way to go deep into the playoffs is have a good running game. But Travis Etienne was phenomenal on the ground. He had every carry for the Jacksonville Jaguars this game. He had 20 carries for I think went over 100. But how they used him, just how they said, "Hey, look, you're our feature back." I think that was huge and important. Yes, Trevor Lawrence. I think he played marginal. I think he played average. He played par. Right. He threw 4 picks and he threw 4 touchdowns. Right. And I think that but the receivers really played well towards the end of the end of the half. I think that it's the second half of football. They were catching passes. Trevor Lawrence spread the ball out. They were going after it. They were attacking the ball. Some of the things they didn't do and execute on in the first half. So it speaks a lot to, just Doug Pederson and what he's done with this team so far. I think that whoever this team plays in the next round, I think they're going to be. It's going to be surprising because they'd be some teams late. But if they play in this good of football, defense wise, and the offense can get it ready for the next game, who knows what this the Jaguar team can do. So we'll see though.